Hello everyone and welcome to today's cryptocurrency update for August 31st, 2022. I really have very little to add to yesterday's or Monday's update or most updates before that. So please bear with me as this will be very brief. I'll only review Bitcoin and Ethereum and there will be no summary slide because there's really very little to add to yesterday's or the day before update. Why? Because here's Bitcoin, here's the cursor. We can zoom in a little bit more if you would like to, because the price action over the last 4 days, as you can see, is sideways. Sideways mess, always hard to interpret, so we have to go with if-then scenarios. If we go below this week's low, then we can revisit 18,000, potentially even 10 to 12,000. Yes, it is eventually possible. Then my assessment that this is a leading diagonal first wave or A wave is wrong, and that this was then a B wave, which hid very nicely itself as looking like a first or A wave. Similarly, this is what happened by the end of just before the COVID crash in the stock markets. That was a diagonal B wave as well. Conversely, if we break above this low here that we made in mid-August on the bigger drop, then we can start attacking the 22,000 level. Above the bounce high at about 22,000, then we can revisit 25,000. Those are really the two price levels to watch. So we really need to first break above about 21,000, and then we can target 22.5 above the 25. And if we drop below 19,500, somewhere around there, then we can revisit 18,000 to even much lower. That's really all there is to it. That's quite simple. We have now almost 4 to 5 days of nothingness. So there's not much to add to our insights till we see a breakout or a breakdown. Same here for Ethereum. As you can see here, Ethereum looks a little bit more bullish, but as you can see, it is struggling with the 50-day simple moving average. It failed to close above it yesterday, and it failed to close above it today. Now, what I do like is that this does look like a ABC lower, as you can see. It looks very nice, loud and clear as a ABC lower. So technically, we could have done enough with a about 50% retrace for this wave 2/B in red. Okay, so remember, this is the general path I already laid out on this day here. We would go lower, we would bounce, and then go lower again. And as you can see, we followed the general path very well. There's, of course, always some minor differences. But here I was looking for about 1750 to 1800. This was the ideal target zone. And as you can see, we reached it picture perfectly and then dropped out of it. So there's still no surprises whatsoever in this assessment. We knew once we topped here that we would drop on a close below the trend line. That happened. So the general path laid out, I think this was already 2-3 weeks ago, as we followed quite well. So I don't see a reason to change my tune or to change my analysis. That will only happen if we start dropping below about $1,000 on Ethereum, which is here, this level here. I don't want to see it drop below. If we hold that level, it is still possible we get there. Allow me to explain. So far, as I said, we have done enough A, B, C lower to consider this red wave to be complete. But we need to break, of course, above the bounce high to really take the possibility of a subdividing C wave off the table. It could namely be that this is a subdividing C wave, and this is then wave 1 of the C wave. The current rally is wave 2 of the C wave, because remember, C waves are 9 out of 10 times 5 waves. It can always become a diagonal as well. And then it's sometimes a little harder to understand if that is going to be 5 or 3 waves. And as you can see, if we then have a very normal standard Fibonacci-based relationship for a 5-wave C wave, this can go as low as 1,000. There you have it. Then we would see a wave 3 to about this level here. Okay, this is on a breakdown below Monday's low. Then we would have, ideally, assuming a standard impulse lower, a wave 4 to about here, and then we would have a wave 5 to about there. Okay, which gets us, as you can see, still very close to the 76.4% retrace. Okay, so this is what's going to happen on a breakdown in much more detail. And of course, Bitcoin will follow along the same way, like this. And that will then be, okay, like this. Again, we need to break, of course, below the low here made on Monday. That's the bear. The bears want to see that. You should not go above the high made last week. That is the bullish cutoff. The bulls want to push it above the high made last week, which is 1722, if I remember correctly. And I believe the low for the week is about 1420, something like that. 1430s, something like that. Okay, that's really because the cutoff. Because if we break above, so this is the bearish count, 1, 2, we break below it, of course we get 3, then we get 4. We put it a little bit more constructive in time so you can kind of get an idea on how this will look like in time. This is just an idea, it's not set in stone. And then we get a very deep wave 2 in red. But remember, if a diagonal completes, 9 out of 10 times you go back to the start of the diagonal, which is right here, which is then quite equal to the level we see there. Remember, that is the start of the diagonal, okay? So please keep it in mind. Monday's low needs to hold. We need to break above the 50-day simple moving average. Then we need to break above 1722, and then we can start revisiting the 2000s, because this can still turn into a much more complex drawn out correction, where this is ABC of a larger A wave. Then we get an ABC of a larger B wave, and then we get a larger 5 waves. This wave 2B can become very complex in both time and price, and then it will become a rather giant flat. That's not my preferred view. I know it's possible. I have zero indication that it will be possible, that it will happen. It's something we keep an open mind on. So that's why I have this green arrow. We can still move into the 2000 resistance zone here for Ethereum. It's very possible. So please keep it in mind where things are. But then I prefer, honestly, to consider the entire correction complete if we move above the 1722 level. And I'll be looking for the 3000s. Okay, with a pit stop first into the low 2000s, which is the resistance zone right there. Okay, so baby steps. Again, if a new bull has started, we're right at the beginning of it. This is the detailed path. So it is right at the cusp of telling us either we're going to subdivide lower first, and then we can reach indeed as low as around 10,050 plus or minus 50. Okay, that is still possible, assuming we'll get a standard Fibonacci-based impulse pattern to the downside for this green wave C. Okay, that is really all there is to it for now. So baby steps for the market. Please know where we are in. We have followed the red path quite well. Not as low yet as I would have liked to see, but a 50 to 76.4% retrace is very normal for a second wave. So technically we've done enough. Below 1430 can target 1100 to 1000. Above 1722 can target 2000s to 3000s plus. That is really where we are right now. So we have done enough for the correction to be considered complete. Okay, so please keep that in mind, and then we simply move things forward. Great, of course, no changes made, but you can see it on the screen. And of course, the same will be for Bitcoin. And as I said before, for Bitcoin, we could drop even below the June low, and then Ethereum is front running everything. And Bitcoin will have to play catch up. Now, I know there's a lot of chatter, of course, about the merge or whatever it is for Ethereum. That is not in the charts. I don't know how to interpret that. I cannot predict what the market will do based on those type of big events. All I do is follow price, and this is where we currently are. So please keep that in mind. I think we need a couple more days, and we know with much more certainty where things are at. Above 1722, I'm going to turn bullish and at least look for the low 2000s, preferably the 3000s, because then we've technically done enough to consider the correction complete. We break below this week's low, which is about 1430, I believe. Then we can go as low as 1050 plus or minus 50. That's all there is to it for these two. The rest of these currencies will follow that I track: Avalanche, Binance Coin, Solana, etc. But I really wanted to make sure we are able to understand the two big boys the best, because these are the ones that move the cryptocurrencies market. Last but not least, please remember we're catching up on the 200-day moving average, this red line. And as I've showed you before, once we get above the 200-day moving average, not so much yet on Bitcoin, but if we do for Ethereum, the chances of a new bull increase tremendously once price is above it. So with that, thank you so much for listening. Take care, trade safe, and if you have any questions, as always, please contact me. See you all on Friday. Bye.